Gerald got me a sewing machine because I just wanted to make stuff, and I started to learn how to sew. I didn't know how to thread this machine. I didn't know how to understand it.
Welcome to Make and Decorate, a podcast for makers who love to sew, quilt, and decorate. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Make and Decorate podcast. This is episode 49, originally published on April 30th, 2020. And I am Stephanie, your host. And if you're brand new to the show, welcome. Welcome. We've got a great show today. For those of you who have been following along, have known that I have been so sick the last month and a half. And just this week, I am really starting to feel better. I would say about 70% there, 70% to normal. Which is so much better than I was last week and previously. I'm so happy about this because last week, it just wasn't changing every day. Every day was the same and not getting better. And I just felt like, am I ever going to get better from this bronchitis? But then on Sunday, I woke up and started the day, and then I was just like, oh my gosh, I am starting to feel better. This is great. Yes. So yeah, I am definitely this week on the mend and still have some coughing going on and that sort of thing. But I mean, thank God I can be out of bed for at least 3/4 of the day versus only a couple hours a day. So that is a huge improvement. And thank you so much for those of you who have sent me some really nice messages, emails, and notes of, wishing I get better. And really, it does help when someone, just sends you a nice cheerful note. So I thank you so much for that. It really goes a long way and really it did pick up my spirits. So that was really great. All right. So now, within this whole quarantine, we're starting to get, up until this point for the last month, I would say, we were all sort of in the same place where everybody, almost everyone had a mandate to stay at home from their state. And so now starting this week, about 19 states have started to lift those restrictions, and some of them have opened. They have opened restaurants, and even Texas opened some movie theaters, which I think is a little too soon, but I don't know. I don't live there, and I'm not up to the numbers of their stats and the number of viruses and so forth they have. I just know that in my state, in Illinois, the governor extended our stay-at-home mandate through the end of May. And we're just, I am in this fairly densely populated urban location, and we still have a lot of cases and daily deaths going on. So I know so many people need to get back to work, and so it's going to happen. And I hope everyone is doing well. And we're all just getting through this the best that we can, because no one has ever gone through anything like this in their lifetime. No one. So we're just taking it a day at a time, including all of the experts on infectious disease and the scientists and the modeling specialist people who try to forecast what's, going to happen. So, none of us know. And it's very uncertain. But I just, for the first 3 weeks of this lockdown, I guess, or, stay at home mandate, it was pretty depressing. And New York was just in a dire situation, and then New Orleans got, into that, and I saw my own state, start to elevate. And it was really, really a dark period, and I limited the amount of news that I would watch because it got way too depressing. But I knew I would have to keep up with it because things were changing so rapidly day by day and even hour by hour. So I would just kind of get like once a day sort of thing of the news. And then like a couple of weeks ago, Good Morning America, which is the morning news show that I like to watch, they were starting to put up stories very positive. They were really showing the kindness and humanity and things that people were doing for other people they don't know. And it was really good. And they're still doing it. And I love seeing those stories. But it's sort of like a love-hate thing because I'm telling you, it's like it gets me bawling and crying every morning, but it's not that depressing, end of the world cry. It is uplifting. It is like, oh my gosh, there is extraordinary in all of us. These stories are about, everyday ordinary people that have become extraordinary just by doing the human kind thing for someone else. And I truly believe that that is what is going to carry all of us through this pandemic. And you know what else is going to carry us through? Sewing and quilting and being creative, right? So let's talk about sewing and being creative. I know I've been talking about making face masks for like the last, I don't know how many episodes, but I just have one more thing to tell you guys. And there are a lot of videos that show pipe cleaners being used as the flexible wire that molds around the nose. And those work great. But the metal in those pipe cleaners will erode and rust when the masks are washed. So you can still use those, but you should make a sleeve on the back of the mask. And it's really, at first I'm like, oh, a sleeve, that's like adding a whole nother, who knows how many minutes and steps to this. It's really not that bad. All you do is cut out a 1.5 by 6 inch piece and you press up the two sides and the bottom. You top stitch the bottom onto it, and then that's it. The rest of it gets sewn into the mask, the seams, as normal. And that way the pipe cleaner can be slid into the little sleeve on the back and when you wear it. And then when you wash it, you can just pull it out before it goes into the washer and then put it back in when it's all done and dried. So that's one solution to that sort of issue. And then another one is if you just want to stitch the wire directly into the mask and you don't want to mess around with the sleeves, you can find wire that is that won't rust. And there is a craft wire. I ordered some. It's not here yet, but it's coming, and it is a 20 gauge silver craft wire. It's actually made of copper, and then it's covered with something else that's silver. So all I know is that it will not erode or rust when it gets wet or when it gets washed. So I'm going to try that out as well in the masks. But since that, before I get this wire, I have made lots of masks with the pipe cleaners with the sleeves, and that works really well. And I think the pipe cleaners are much more easily findable, or is that even a word? Findable. They're much easier to source than this other type of wire. So you can't just use any wire either. You have to make sure that you find out what it's made of, because going through all that work to make these masks just to have this wire erode inside the mask is just not no, it's not good. All right. So that's it on the masks. Let's talk about Tula Pink in all of these Fat Quarter Shop videos on YouTube. Yeah, recently Tula Pink did several videos, and it is on the Fat Quarter Shop YouTube channel. They have a great channel, by the way. They have really they have a super high production on these videos. But there was a couple of series that I watched. One of them was several episodes, and Tula talked about her process of designing fabrics, how she does it. And then she gave kind of like a behind the scenes glimpse of what happens and how this fabric is produced after she has designed a collection and hands it off to Free Spirit. So that was really very interesting. It's pretty fascinating. So that was a really good series. And then the next series, there was like a 3-part tutorial that Tula did on English paper piecing. And, she is just naturally a very good instructor or teacher. And she has like a humor that is similar to my own. So sort of like a little bit sarcastic, but it's just not the end of the world if you're not doing something like to the utmost level of perfection. So I love that about her. And I did take away a couple of new things to do with my English paper piecing. And, one of them is that, she uses they're the mini size sew tights. They're magnets. So there's these rectangle magnets, and they also do now have little tiny circles of magnets, but I like the mini ones. And those hold together the 2 pieces of English paper piecing that you want to sew together. And so I ordered some of those. And the other thing is the type of needles to use. So I've always known about tulip needles. Those are really like high quality needles that are made in Japan. And I've only used the sashiko needles, the tulip sashiko needles when I've done sashiko hand stitching. So I just didn't really expand on that product line. So I didn't know that they had all of these other different types of needles: quilting, applique, embroidery. They even have glass head pins, quilting pins. So she uses the applique big eye needles. And what's great about those needles is that the eyes are not like wider, so it's harder to get through, the layers of fabric. It's still like a narrow eye, but it's longer. The eye opening is longer. So you get that much more space to get that thread through the eye of that needle. So, that was really a great tip. And I immediately went on a search for those. Fat Quarter Shop was selling them. And I think at the time, see, this is what happens when people do videos and they use certain products, and then everybody wants that product, and then it sells out. So I think that they were sold out on the applique big eye needle. So then I ended up getting a whole set of them on Amazon, and it was a little bit of an investment, but I do a lot of hand stitching, and so it was actually more economical to get a set versus purchasing an individual box. But you can get them however you want. So I just got like the set of all of the different types of hand needles: the applique, embroidery, quilting, regular stitching, and also the glass head quilting pins. I love glass head pins because you can iron over them, and they're very pretty with their colors. So I'm really excited about that. And the tulip packaging is so beautiful. It comes in like this beautiful cardboard box with a red ribbon at the top. And inside of it, the needles are inside these little, they look like test tubes and with the cork on the top. So it's really pretty. I just enjoy the beautiful way that they are packaged. So those are the tulip needles. The other thing she had mentioned, which I already have started using, I told you about this recently, is that little pink rotating cutting mat by Sue Daly. It's really great, and she uses it and loves it. So that is a great tool. And like she says in the tutorial, it's not 100% necessary, but it's kind of nice to have. And one other thing was, I told you about it. It was those little mini So Tight magnets. Here's the thing about those, though, because I have a set of the bigger ones, the bigger magnets, and the mini ones came the same way, where they use this adhesive that does not come off. And so before you even use these, you have to find a solvent to get this gummy adhesive off of them. And and they know this. There's a little insert that says, oh, here's how you can remove this adhesive. Go find some nail polish remover. Or what I have is Goo Gone, which I think probably might work a little bit better. I don't know. But I just, that's just like a little irksome thing for me that I just don't like when I ordered those, because they're magnets. All they have to do is put the back of the magnet on the back side of the cardboard piece and the front on the front side of the cardboard. Why does it have to be adhered to the cardboard? I don't understand it, but hey, you know what? That's just my little thing. Anyway. So check out those videos. They're really, really very good. And like when you see the English paper piecing that makes these really beautiful kaleidoscope patterns, she talks about that. And it's really not as hard as you would think it is to create those. However, it does, end up wasting a bunch of fabric because you do have to fussy cut the same design over and over again to get that kind of kaleidoscope type of a pattern. And then she did another one, which was also on her Instagram and Facebook, but they did a more recent tour of her studio that she calls Pinkerville. And that was a lot of fun too. She showed everywhere, in her studio, which is also where she lives. And it's really so great. It's so gorgeous. And I enjoyed hearing the story of that, I guess it's like a farmhouse that she lives in. And there's some really unique decorative elements in there, like the fireplace and the chandelier. But I'm not going to tell you any more about that because I don't want to ruin the story about that. So you can go and watch those videos and find out those really cool things about those decorative elements. So what else? There's another tool that I wanted to mention, and I have mentioned this on a previous episode a while back. And this is like a tool that I really have come to rely upon a lot, and I really like it. It is the Clearly Perfect Angles. And this is a thin, clear silicone sheet that sticks to the bed of the sewing machine. And it's printed with these, all of these guidelines, and you line it up, you cut out the opening to fit your machine around your feed dogs. And so it fits right underneath your the needle, and it goes back behind the needle plate. So you have to cut out that the center part that goes over the feed dogs to free that up. And then there's a set of lines that goes from the center of the needle down, and it will go all the way down the front of your sewing bed. And especially if you have like one of those attachable quilting tables, or if your machine is lowered into a sewing table, it'll come out probably about like 8 more inches with the lines on there. And I love it because you can make binding super quick. You don't have to mark any of those diagonal lines. You just put them together the 90 degrees that they need to be, and then you line it up with that line that goes all the way down so you can see where you need to stitch from beginning to end. And it's so quick. And then I also use it just for the 1/4 inch seam line because it goes all the way down. It's not, sometimes those notches on the needle plate that marks those seam lines are hard to see. And they're only like right there. So these lines that go all the way down, you can really guide that fabric in really nicely. I love it. It's really great. And you don't really even have to take it off. My machines all have the side bobbin. It's not the drop-in. And so that's I don't have to move it at all. But they do say on their packaging that if you have a drop-in bobbin, because that sheet does lay on top of it. So, but you don't have to take the whole thing off. You can just roll it up to expose the little door that snaps open for the bobbin, the drop-in bobbin, and roll it back down. So I really love this. It's like a really good tool that I've gotten used to, and I would say is, for me, kind of essential. It just takes the headache away of sewing diagonals. So I'll put that in my podcast page show notes. All right. I'm running a little bit long in this first segment, but I do want to update you on the Epics show that I told you about on the last episode called Belgravia. The first episode, I wasn't sure, but now I've seen the first 3 episodes and I am hooked. I love this show. It is like the Edwardian version of like a soap opera, a nighttime soap opera, like Dynasty or something. I don't know. But it's a lot of fun, and there are some really interesting storylines and secrets. And of course, like I said before, the clothing, the costumes, and all of the scenery, everything, furniture, decorations are just as much as part of the show that I like to watch as the actual show itself. So I really highly recommend that show, Belgravia. I've got a few other shows to recommend to you guys, but I'm going to just put those on my podcast page show notes. So if you're interested in finding out what those are, go to my podcast page at stephaniesochadesign.com. I also have the domain of makeanddecorate.com, which might be easier for you to remember. All right, so my guest on today's episode is actually 2 guests, Gerald and Elena Flores from the podcast So Taco. They are a husband and wife team. They each have their own side hustle business, and I love their podcast, and we are going to learn all about how they came to podcast and how they grew these side hustle creative businesses to be so successful as they are. Now, we recorded this episode before everything happened tipsy-turvy in our pandemic world. So this episode we recorded in January. So also stay tuned till the end because they have a promo code discount to both of their online shops. I'm so happy to welcome Gerald and Elena Flores from the So Taco podcast to my show today. Hi, guys.
Hi, Stephanie.
How are you?
We're good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Oh, this is the first time I'm having 2 people at one time on my show. But you guys are in the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps.
So that does help a little bit. And I just want to tell you before we get into your story that I found you guys just by I don't know, serendipity or something. Because every once in a while, I will search through the podcast search machine and I'll type in sew and quilt and maker and stuff like that. And then Sew Taco popped up and I was like, what? How do I not know about this show? And
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And then not long after, you guys, I heard you on Creative Queso, which I also listened to that show.
Oh, Jennifer Perkins.
That was
yes.
so fun. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how I've kind of discovered you guys. And then ever since then, I have been listening and loving everything that you guys do. So, so I wanted to have you on the show. So, for my listeners, Gerald and Elena are married and they both have their own side hustles. And in addition to their full-time work. So let's hear about just the story, your story and your side hustles and that sort of thing.
Sure. Who should go first, Elena?
You can go first.
Okay. So for me, I do talk a lot, so I'll try not to. And if you listen to our podcast, you know that I talk a lot. So basically, I've been a graphic designer for, probably 14 years now. And I ended up launching a brand on my own. And it came from about 5 years ago. I was looking for a T-shirt that I wanted to wear that had some cool taco phrase on it or just looked cool and had to do with tacos. Because I love who doesn't love tacos, right?
Right.
And I couldn't find one. So I decided to just make my own. And I made one, and then I kind of put it on Instagram. And I think at the time it was just family and friends. I think I had 100 and something followers, and I put it on, and then somebody was like, "Are you going to sell that?" And I was like, should I? And then I made a website for it, figured out how to do that myself, and sold one, and then sold another, and it kind of just, we could do so many episodes just on this alone, but it snowballed into what is now called Taco Gear, which has been my baby, my side hustle, because I do have a full-time job for the past 5 years. My full-time job is still in the creative world, which I think is a benefit for me. I'm the creative director at a web development agency. So during the day, I get to do that during the day and stay creative. And sometimes it's a little draining, but as soon as we get home from 5 on, it's nothing but Taco Gear for me. And then, of course, whatever my wife needs help with in her brand. But that's kind of just the nuts and bolts of it. And the whole 5 years have been an incredible journey. So really, that's kind of just the short synopsis of what Taco Gear is. And the funny thing is, I just launched another brand 2 days ago.
What?
I launched I took what I learned from Taco Gear, which is an entire brand dedicated to tacos, and I applied it to pizza.
Oh.
So I have a new brand called That Pizza Brand because I couldn't figure out what else to name it.
Not
so I just said
here?
That Pizza Brand. No, there was so much stuff that was already taken.
Oh yeah.
And that just launched too, so that's super new. But that's kind of just the basics of mine. What about you, Elena?
For me, So Bonita started when I just needed to do a creative itch. I've always been creative. I had a successful cupcake business that I ran out of my home for about 2 or 3 years. And then I just really overworked myself with that, not knowing how to say no, not knowing how to say instill boundaries. And that was really tough. But I learned a lot because I don't have any schooling or education when it comes to business. It's all self-taught. And then Gerald got me a sewing machine because I just wanted to make stuff. And I started to learn how to sew. I didn't know how to thread this machine. I didn't know how to understand it. And I enrolled myself in some classes just to learn the basics. And then that's how I learned how to sew. And knowing or being married to a graphic designer, it has its definite perks. And so I, at the same time, I asked him to design me a shirt with the word chingona. And when I did that, people were like, "Oh my God, where can I buy that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so we just decided to combine both sewing and then like this empowerment t-shirt line that incorporates my Mexican American culture. And that's how So Bonita was born.
Yeah, that is so
in a nutshell.
Awesome. Yeah. And well, since you brought up Chingona, I learned about that from the Stars show Vida.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
It's a really good show. And
I heard that.
Yeah. And they were, calling, I'm a Chingona, la la la. So I looked it up and, it means badass, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So cool.
I think this shirt, we came out with mine probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And in that time, I think politically women were trying to make a statement, and then they still are. And so it was a movement that was building on itself, and I was just so happy to be a part of it. And I see, people that are so positive, body positive influencers like Lizzo, who is, making the word bitch a more term of endearment, as opposed to something that has some kind of bad connotation. And so women are just accepting those words and making definitions on their own. And I think that's important. And I am so happy that So Bonita was part of that. Played a very, very small role in that huge movement. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I just wonder because, you sell the t-shirt. I love the one that's says Chingona, and it's like kind of like a lace design.
Papel picado.
Yes, yes. And but then I'm like, I don't know if I can wear it because it's technically not my culture, but I just love the meaning of it and everything.
Yeah, I think anybody can wear it.
Do you?
I think it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like you want to not appropriate anything,
right.
And I understand that. But I think the word is so accepting to everyone, because in its entirety, we're all women and we're just trying to stand up for each other. I don't care what your background is.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you get equally paid and equally treated with respect, like all of us. And so I think that's, I don't think that it has any barriers.
Okay, good. Because I love it.
So get you one, girl.
I will. I'm going to. Well, I saw you, I don't know if it was on your video or whatever, but you had one that looked like it was a metallic.
Oh yeah. We did we ran a metallic, the gold foil.
I want that one.
Yeah. People are asking us to do it again, and we had those locally made, and so it was a pre-order, and it was such a successful campaign. Yeah, we might have to do it again. Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay, I'm all over that if you do that again, for sure.
Okay.
Awesome. So, all right. And then so you guys are in Corpus Christi, Texas. Yeah.
We are.
And I love learning about that because I really didn't know anything about Corpus Christi. I'm in Chicago, and I mean, whenever I hear Texas, it's usually like, the big H or Dallas or Austin.
Yeah. I mean, that's Texas.
No, Texas is, and I visited Chicago, and I remember you had mentioned that in your email to us. And by the way, it was so clean, like where we were, like everything was so like neat.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. But Texas, you're right. Texas is known for, everyone thinks we ride horses and all that stuff. But Texas is Corpus Christi. It's still small enough of a town where when we hear it in a movie, which is like really rare, we're like, oh, they said Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
And I've been binge watching ER on Hulu, and they said it in there. And
Did
I was
they
like,
really?
Yeah, because one of the doctors his father was in the Navy, and he was like, we were stationed in Corpus Christi once, and I was like, oh, he said Corpus Christi, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, no, Corpus Christi it's a beach town basically. Population's a little over 250,000. The last probably 5 or 6 years, there's been a huge boom in our downtown area. We don't have a huge downtown, but it was dead, and there wasn't a lot of local businesses. But there's been a huge influx of locals who are opening up their own businesses. A lot of people are now starting to or have been supporting local restaurants, eating out more, and just aware of the fact that let me show my support with this place that opened up a coffee shop or this new little market that opened up. But we love it. We love traveling too, by the way. But whenever we come back to Texas, we're like, okay, we're in Texas again. Like,
well,
cool.
Yeah. And I looked it up on a map to see where exactly it was at. And it's like way down by the Gulf of Mexico. But there's like Corpus Christi
on the Gulf,
is right on the Gulf where there's a bay. And I'm like, that just seems like it would be a paradise, really. Because, I mean, I would love the ocean. I really love the West Coast. Like whenever I go like out to San Francisco and that Northern California, I just never, that's like one of my favorite places. But anyway, so I can imagine how, tight knit and a beach town is a little bit more casual. And so it's so different from, where I'm at, which is like so large, urban, and, it's nobody cares who you are. They just want to get to where they're going. And so, but I mean, sure, we have our, small business things and people do support each other, but not like the way you guys talk about. And you guys have guests on your show that are from your local area, which I think is unique. And I think it's a really great thing about your show. It's one of the things I love. So we should talk about your show. Talk about So Taco.
I'll start by saying that Elena did not want to do it.
No,
she did not want to do a podcast, and she'll tell you why she didn't want to do it. But basically, we were trying to look for ways to kind of extend our brand, or each of our brands, and I thought it would be an interesting way to let the audience or our followers know a little bit more about us. And for a while, though, I thought, well, what are we going to talk about? Because we are not the authority on anything, and we don't ever claim to be. But what we are the authority of is ourselves. We know us, and we know what we've done and what we've gone through and what's worked. And then we decided to go through all of our DMs and see what questions we would get asked most often. And we decided to create episodes out of those. Oh. And her and I both knew that we were so busy, we were not going to be doing this every week, which now – well, spoiler alert, we are now doing it every week.
Yeah.
But at the time I said, let's try this. And she was like, I don't want, and she'll tell you why she didn't want to in a minute. Okay. But we made a list and we knocked them out in one weekend. We recorded all the episodes. We uploaded them and one at a time each week. And the response was great. And then we took a little break and then we did it again. And we're in season 6 now. And don't ask me what makes it a season because I have no idea. We just stop and then we start again. But one of the season of guests is what you're probably referring to that had the most amount of guests because that's all we wanted to do. And at that time, we actually wanted to have guests on as a way to help grow the podcast. And then also we wanted to learn how to become better hosts because that was something we wanted more practice with and just get to know these people a little more, which was a lot of fun. But now it's such a mixture of our daily lives, what we're doing. We're super transparent about everything. I'll let Elena talk more about that. But for the most part, we'll still throw guests in every once in a while.
I like
but
that.
we now recording every week, every Thursday. We actually just finished before we got on the call with you right now, which was interesting. And we got on a schedule and we just put them up. Our best guest, our most popular one has been Cheech Marin from Cheech and Chong.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
We had him on. He's a huge collector. He's the largest collector in the world of Chicano art. And he actually, our art museum down here had his entire collection there and he came down for it. And he came down for a documentary that he was in. And Elena jumped the gun and she was like, hey, can we get him on? And we made some calls and we were able to do that, which is really, really cool.
That was so cool.
Yeah. One of the things that we preach a lot on our podcast is the worst anybody can say is no. And so when you want to ask something, ask, and sometimes that can be very difficult. Right. And so the worst that they could have told us was, no, that's not doable. And we would have been okay with it. But when we asked, they were like, yeah, okay, let's do something fun. And
why do you want to do the podcast?
I did want to do the podcast because I felt like it was putting me in a very vulnerable position. I have some anxiety issues, and I've talked about that on our podcast. And then being diagnosed with it finally, like I finally feel that I have, like I've been living with it like this for 40 years, and I thought I was just really weird. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have this. Oh, well, that makes complete sense. And so when we were already on Instagram with our businesses, the audience only sees a glimpse of the brand, right? So you're in charge of what is being visually represented. But I'm so thankful for this podcast because I feel like I've opened up to an audience that has met me on a more intimate level. On top of that, I now like post stories on my Instagram when I'm like without makeup, or I have my mouth guard on, or I locked myself out of the house. Like
I remember that.
It's so real now. Like I feel very thankful that this podcast has allowed me to open up in that sense. So I don't feel very vulnerable. I don't feel like an upside down turtle anymore. I feel more, this is very, very therapeutic. Yeah. So that's why I didn't want to do it. I was really hesitant. I didn't want to, I didn't want to disappoint anybody, and I didn't want for people to criticize. But now it's like, I don't care if you don't like it, you don't listen to it, then it's not for you. Yeah. So it's allowed me to build like almost, a shell in that turtle type of like, I'm like a turtle now. I'm good.
Well, that's really interesting because I can definitely relate to that because I too have anxiety and have been dealing with it for years. And but I wanted to do a podcast for a long time. 4 years I waited. I prepared. I got my microphone. I got all the stuff. I was listening to Pat Flynn, all of his podcasts and how to start one. But first of all, because I wanted to, join, like get more in touch with this community of, sewing and quilting. But also the same thing of just to get out of my, hermit type self.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're right. It is therapeutic. I have found, so I've been doing my podcast almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years. But
congratulations.
Thank you. So, but it's interesting to hear you talk about that and mention it because you kind of think that podcasters, and a lot of them are very extroverted and just full of personality. I think Gerald is very charismatic, and it seems like just comes so easy to him. And
right.
Yeah. And it's not so as easy for me. And I just,
it's not as easy for me too.
Yeah.
And it is a compliment. And like people, when I was on a podcast 2 weekends ago with a bunch of ladies that I've never met here in Corpus. And I said, I consider myself an introvert. They're like, what? No, you're so strong. And and I was like, well, yeah, but like at the end of the day, I'm ready to go home and like shut myself off to the world. And not only that, but like it takes me forever to prep that I'm going to be in a crowd, or I'm invited to this party. And or like when Gerald said, let's go to the movies. And it's like, wait a minute, hang on. Let me just prepare.
Right.
I have to elaborate on what she's saying, which is it's all true, but she's like the whole movie thing. You would think it was not a big deal, right? Like, hey, there's a movie that starts at 5. It's 10 a.m. right now. You want to go see that at 5 o'clock? And she's like, wait a minute, we didn't talk about that yesterday at all. Hold on. You want to go see a movie today? And we're literally not doing anything. But then she'll do it. And then another example, which is hilarious, is we will make plans with our friends. And here's an example of a couple friend of ours invited us over, and another close couple friend of ours. We're all going to the one couple's house, and we get there, and there's a car in the driveway that Elena does not recognize. Oh. So Elena says, Gerald, whose car is that? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, they better not have invited other people that I don't know. And so I think we were in the car for a few minutes, and I was like, well, Elena, we have to go in.
Yeah, I had to prepare.
We have to go in. So we go in, and it turned out to be they have a son, and it was the son's girlfriend. Oh. But that's how she was, where like the plan changed, and she was not prepared.
Yeah.
So it threw off her world for a little bit.
And I think you can relate, like if we're sewing and it's like, yeah, let's go to the movies at 6. It's like, hang on. I just cut and iron fabric for like 2 hours, and I had in my head, I'm like, I'm going to be able to like do this. It's like, you want me to go to a movie for another 2.5 hours or watch a 3-hour movie? And that's like the rest of my evening. Like, no. So
yeah. And I'm the same way, like with the movie thing, and my husband loves movies, and he's like, certain movies you have to see in the theater.
Oh, for sure.
Which I know what he's talking about, but it's for me, I act like an old person because I love the like afternoon matinee movies where you are guaranteed open seats around you. I don't want to be like, I will not go to a movie on opening weekend because you're going to be crammed in there, and it's just my anxiety just goes way up. So I totally understand you with that. Yeah, and definitely the thing of like, oh, this is impeding in my sewing time. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's good. And about your podcast, and I like it both ways. When you two are on, you have a really good, content and banter between each other, bouncing either ideas or even if you guys don't agree on things. I mean, that's very interesting to hear different perspectives. So
yeah.
And then,
it's so funny. That's how like we talk like without the microphones,
Sure.
And I think we've talked about it before too, where like something, sometimes we don't have any content, and we literally think about, well, what happened this week? And then we make content out of it. But there's times that probably every other week where she'll call me, or I'll call her. And then we will need to discuss something that actually just happened, whether it be an opportunity or this crazy
email or something.
And then we're like, wait, let's talk about it on the podcast. Let's not talk about it right now.
I don't want to tell you. I'll talk to you on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is unique as well, because who would think that you could take an email and make a podcast episode out of it, but make it interesting? And I remember the one because someone emailed you, and I think it was like with the, time frame of getting the shirt and whatever, and you guys use like a third party, blah, blah, blah. And it was just not a nice email. So it was interesting. I enjoyed hearing that, because even just as a small business owner, it's nice to get other business owners' perspectives and how they handle customer service, difficult customers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm pretty good at that. Actually, the funny one, maybe about a week ago, a customer was like, I ordered a shirt weeks ago. Or no,
last month.
Close to a month ago.
Yeah, close to a month ago.
And I looked, and it was literally like 3 days. Like 3 days before.
Oh, man.
You're like, calm down, Vato.
Yeah. And I'm like, how can I stick it to him, but not stick it to him? And I remember I said, I always say like, thank you. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate the order. Looks like your order was placed on, and I put the date and then in parentheses 3 days ago instead of the month.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah. But they jump right back and say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. And he could have got me confused with somebody else, but those are just the things that, you had to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, getting a little bit deeper into your, what your side hustles are, Gerald, yours is, taco gear. And like you said,
correct,
you design the T-shirts and sell them. But there's a couple of little interesting things that you've done, like the decks, the card decks. I thought that was cool. I went to your website, and the photographs are amazing. Do you take your own photography?
Some of them of the actual shirts. Or
well,
just,
no, your
just
homepage, like you have like I didn't actually play the video with
oh,
the tacos on the plate.
oh,
They're
I
real.
gotcha. You know, some of the yeah, some of those are actually other photographers. I don't
Okay.
do a lot of shooting my own photos. Some are honestly, some photographers early on reached out and said, can you, like, they'll do free photography if I just send some shirts.
Oh wow.
And I trusted them. And I think I've done that probably in the 5 years. The first couple of years, I did that probably like 10 times. And honestly, all it cost me was the t-shirt,
Wow.
you know, and,
So
and
cool.
we use a drop shipper. So
Yeah.
it was like $14, you know, absolutely. It was a risk. And I would say maybe like 80% of the photographers did really well. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And some of those pictures are still on the website. Some of them too are mock-ups. Surprisingly, there's a website. Can I mention the website?
Sure.
They're not a sponsor of either of us, but but there's a website called placeit.net, and it's full of models with blank t-shirts, and all you have to do is upload your artwork, and you can experiment with different color. It looks so realistic, and you have to pay like $7.95 for each one, but or you know, there's like you pay $20 a month and you get unlimited. But when you're starting out and you don't have photography, it's really cool. So that's a mixture of mock-ups and real photography is on mine. And I may have taken a few pictures, and what you can do with your phone is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
If you're just in the right lighting and stuff. So, and some of them are fan pictures that I'll just post back up.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
That's what I use for that pizza.
For the pizza?
Absolutely. I use that for that pizza brand because on that pizza brand, the homepage of that website has 5 models on the front, and they're standing in a group. So for $7.95, you can do 5 completely different colored t-shirts and different designs, and it looks so realistic. It's insane.
I had no idea that this was out there.
Yeah. there's stuff we're still finding every day too. That we're like, did you know about this?
That is so cool.
And then so I have a lot of fun with the brand. Early on, it was made because I couldn't find a shirt that I thought represented Latinos well enough that, like, I mean, I saw 1 or 2 of the taco shirts that were out there at the time, and I'm like, I wouldn't wear that, you know. So that's what made me make my own, and I just kept going from there. And it actually opened up my eyes to more to my own culture and to the food and who makes it and all that stuff. So I'm really appreciative of that.
So while we're on tacos, what is your favorite taco?
Oh, that is like okay. So here in South Texas, we have breakfast tacos. On the West Coast, they have breakfast burritos. There is a difference between the two because ours are not fully wrapped. So that is a burrito. I get that. But my favorite breakfast taco is it's a combination of chorizo with egg, bacon, and potato. And there's the thought behind that is the grease from the chorizo soaks into the potato. So it's just a really good combination.
Yeah.
And I really made that sound complicated. But my other favorite is just some really good carnitas or pastor. You know, there's a trompo that looks like a spindle on the streets where they cut. Those are some of my favorite tacos, and I'll have those all the time with some lime and some salsa, and we're good. Yeah.
I think I know Elena's because I watched that on your video, but you could tell the listeners what your favorite taco is.
Mine is a very simple bean and cheese. Just bean and cheese. The best refried beans and the cheesiest government issued cheese. You are good.
That is awesome. That is so great. But I was curious because on the video you said, okay, now it's got to be like a good bean, frijoles. And so, but what is, I mean, do you use them from the can or do you actually like prepare the dry?
You can. You can. I've made them from scratch, right? Like from the dry pinto beans, and you wash them, and you soak them, and then you. But I mean, I know people that used canned pinto beans, and then add their own say, well, yeah, and tomato and bacon, and they make it into like this whatchamacallit, oh my God, I'm losing my mind.
Paste?
Just frijoles de olla, just kind of make them their own pinto beans. But to make a refried pinto bean, you have to, of course, drain the liquid and then fry them. And typically you fry them in lard.
Oh.
And so it makes them super greasy and like really, really grasosas, like really, really just thick and hearty. And you mash them with a potato masher and forget it. It's like
I love
the best.
that.
It's like the best. Yes, refried beans are the best.
Yeah, and
not good for you, but they're the best.
Well, my favorite taco is the cecina taco. I love that one. It's the steak marinated with jalapeno, onions, and cilantro. And I don't love cilantro, but on these tacos, I do, which is bizarre.
That's so funny. Do you have like the soapy gene? Like, you know how that people have like that gene that cilantro tastes like soap?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have that?
I don't know, but it does taste like soap to me, or like sweaty socks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's like a genetic thing. Yeah, that's a genetic thing. And so, and yeah, so if you don't like cilantro, like, I love cilantro. Like I could eat it just off the stem. It's so good. But some people can't, and they determine that it's a gene that it tastes like soap.
Yeah, for sure. That's me. I actually live. It's a very diverse ethnic, cultural city. It has a strong now Mexican residents, and but my husband grew up here. And back in the day, like Al Capone, it was like Polish Czech. Well, there's still Polish Czech, and now it's Hispanic, and you name it. But it wasn't until I moved here that I really got immersed, and I love the Mexican culture. And just like 500 feet that way is a little Torres Fresh Market, and I love it. And I've learned so much I love the food, and I like a few months back, I made my first caldo de res soup, and it turned out fantastic.
Yes. Congrats.
I know. I made the real deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. And so, and I'm always trying to learn, like, what do they, because that market has all these cool, fresh ingredients. And I'm just like, I look it up, and I'm, what's this? And how do I use it? And how do I cook with it? And so, but yeah, it's, I'm really lucky because it's funny because I always cook with poblano is my favorite pepper because I cannot stand the heat really of, spicy ones. I will eat jalapenos, but I mean, it's got to be like mostly without seeds.
But no, I'm the same.
But I love poblanos, and but it's funny because now I have adopted so much of that into my cooking that when I'm elsewhere or, with my family, they're just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, poblanos, you got to put, you have to do that.
There's a local restaurant here that makes poblano soup. So it's it's like, it has to be with like either milk or crema or something. And of course, like pureed roasted poblanos. Oh my God. It's so good.
That sounds delicious.
So yeah. Poblanos are good.
Well, yeah. And I thought it was pretty interesting too, because when you have your guests on your show, you a lot of times cook for them.
I do. Yeah. Except I didn't cook for two guests, but
the first one.
Therese and Javi.
Yeah, redo.
Yeah, redo. We're going to redo it. Yeah. I do cook for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. That's really great. So Elena, let's talk about So Bonita. So Bonita is your business.
Yes, it's an online store. We have a brand that represents the Mexican American culture. I was raised on the border of Texas. And so I was a hop, a skip, and a jump away from Mexico all the time. And I didn't appreciate where I grew up until, later when you leave home, right? And so it's kind of, I had the magic of Mexico in my backyard. And so I grew up in a sea of beautiful brown people and speaking Spanish. And so Bonita is a reflection of that, that in my life. And at the same time with things that really resonate and bring a lot of memory, like the pan dulce and dichos that my grandmother or my mother would say, and talking about being chismosa, and so Bonita, I think, is just kind of identifies as this Mexican American brand that just is trying to bring a little cultura to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really great. And I was sad that I missed out. On your website, you had this Oaxaca bolista, and and I just didn't. I should have gotten it when I saw it, but I didn't, and I went back and it was gone.
But yeah,
I like that embroidered fabric, and I like that you source fabrics that are from your culture. Like there's that one with the stripes. What is that fabric called?
Oh, the cambaya fabric.
Yeah.
Cambaya. Yeah, that's really cool, and it's like woven, so it's so difficult to sew with.
Is it?
But
thick?
Yeah, because it like, no, it's super thin, but since it's woven, like it's like legit, like weavers wove it, so it'll come apart.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So you have to put on a fusible fleece or something, some kind of to iron it, and then it keeps all the woven pieces together. But it's super bright and colorful, and I love it.
Very colorful, and it's interesting because I see that in your the bags and purses that you make, and that fabric just looks very modern, because you kind of see those kind of stripes and color palettes everywhere now, really. So I think that's an interesting kind of like transition into our blended American culture. And you also do the t-shirts, and that's cool because in your photographs of your products, you have the t-shirts with like some skirts that you make.
Oh, right.
So it's like the whole ensemble, and I think that's pretty smart. And with the t-shirts too, I thought, that's a good idea, because what has deterred me sometimes from doing an online shop is the shipping, and just being afraid of just getting overwhelmed or not getting stuff out to people on time, and then they're angrily emailing me or whatever. But I love that idea of designing product and then having that third party shipper. I mean, you have to ship out what you make though, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you like that?
Sew. I mean, I feel like when I sell something I sew, I feel like they're taking a little bit of me. And just the fact that people are interested in what I'm making, it just makes me really happy and very thankful, because I'm pretty much self-taught, and my mother passed away in 2008, and she wanted to teach me to sew, and I just never wanted to learn. So I feel like this is kind of an homage to her. Sewing and creating and making beautiful things that I find colorful and vibrant, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. I think sometimes when we're like getting ready for like Christmas or like those peak seasons like Mother's Day or wedding seasons or even Easter or Valentine's, like there's always like that, okay, people want gifts, right? And so sometimes we have to set some time aside in addition to whatever else we're doing to get ready to ship product out. And typically, I mean, it's a really flawless system. And if it gets lost, then it gets lost and it has to be replaced. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you have to fix it. The t-shirt line is easy because that self-sustains itself. We just process the order and then it takes care of itself. But when we have to ship stuff out, whether it's a sticker or a pencil pack, it can get lost, but it's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. And what you say is true because, as a maker and artists too, it's when they make things and they're either given to others or people buy them, your soul is in that. You've made that, and it's even that much more special. So I love that, and I think that's what I love about making is part of it. Being able to make something
for sure
out of nothing with your hand. It's just like you're in that whatever the bag that you just made, or the skirt, or So let's talk about one more thing. You've actually created pop-up. I don't know if it's a pop-up shop or it's like a local fair or something.
Yeah, a local market.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Talk about how that started, and it's kind of grown into something more than probably you even thought would happen, right?
For sure. It's insane how much it's grown. I noticed, because I'm online only, and I think so many of my fellow creative artists are the same. There was a trend happening in the country where it was just very pop-ups were happening everywhere, right? And then so I was like, what is this? What is this, and how is this happening? And what people were doing was they were renting out like empty business spaces and like setting up shop for like a month, right? And so without actually having a full-blown store, like you can come get this product from May 1st to May 30th or whatever. And so I thought, why can't we do that at a much smaller scale with multiple vendors? And so I reached out to a friend of mine who owns a restaurant bar, and I said, can we do this on your patio? What do you think? And she was all for it. And so I asked 5 of my closest vendor friends, and I said, are y'all interested? They said yes. And so we went in, and so it was 6 of us. And then we did it again a year later, and it was 11 of us. And then
all free.
It's a free event. And I thought we've outgrown. And so we went to a new place. It used to be an old bus station here downtown Corpus Christi, and it's a bar now. So where the buses used to drive through, it's all open. And it has an awning, a covered awning. And so it's really, really cool. Anyway, so we've been having it there for the past 3 years. And so we did one year, and one of the food, because we have food trucks there at this new place. And one of the food trucks was like, hey, like we sold out. What do y'all think about doing it more? Like, can y'all do this more? So we thought, okay. So last year, 2019, we did 3 of them, and it was insane.
3.
So now we went from 6 vendors. Yeah, we went from 6 vendors to 23, 24 vendors, 3 food trucks, DJ, face painter, entertainment, dog friendly, family friendly, free event. And so now we have a wait list of vendors, and it's insane. And so we've also attracted really big heavy hitters from out of town, from San Antonio. People come down from Austin, Houston, Del Rio, and you're talking about 3 to 4 hours away. They come and shop with us, which is nuts. We're just really, really thankful that it's something really different here. And I'm so, so honored and blessed to have a community that embraces us. And we've been watching it grow, and it's such a well-oiled machine, and my vendors are spectacular. And so, and they trust me, which I don't take lightly. And I want them to not only have a successful market, but I want them to sell their product, and I want our customers to have an amazing time, and they do. So we're kicking off 2020 with our next one, March 7th. We're getting ready.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's insane. It's nuts.
How many do you think you'll do this year? 3 again?
We're hoping 4. 4.
4?
We're hoping for 4.
Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
We're hoping.
And
so we'll do one in March, and then probably another one in the summer, and then 2 in the fall. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I just thought about it because I'm like, oh, probably just only in the summer, but that's because I'm in Chicago. But you probably have nice weather year round.
Well, we had one this past summer, and it was brutal. I mean, hot. And so we just learned so much with each one. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a oh my God, it's so hot. So this in the summer, we're thinking about doing a night market where it's kind of chill and light it up and, real swanky and see what we can do. I don't know. We're just every market that we do, we learn and grow and take so much from the experience. So we'll see what happens.
I just find that so fascinating. Tuned. Yeah. And that you have done that. Like this is your thing, your baby. You grew this out of nothing, and it's so much work, and you work full time, and it's just how.
And like Gerald, like designing for it, he does all the marketing for it. Like, I mean, he puts everything, all the flyers and everything that we have to get printed. We started reaching out for sponsors because there's value in this. So that was a whole other ballgame that we had to learn how to play, like how to ask for money so that we can pay for printing or pay for a DJ and pay for a caricature artist or, because at the beginning I was paying for everything and it just didn't seem like, and that was difficult for me to have to be like, hey, give me some money so I can help this. Yeah, it was hard. It's still hard.
It's hard.
But Loca has grown so much and it's such a great event and we're so proud of it and we're so proud of the vendors because it's a very well curated market. I don't allow just anybody. I don't allow just a hobbyist. This is a legit business. You have to have a sales tax ID with the state. And no third party. Like you can't sell like essential oils or like Scentsy and we don't allow any third party vendors. So essentially this is a crafter creator market.
I mean, it reminds me of the Renegade Craft Fair. I don't know if that's ever come through Corpus Christi, but like it's all around. Like it comes to Chicago every September. And it's outdoor, free market, and there's like the little tent booths, and the whole street is closed off downtown. It's really cool, and they have like the beer tents and all this other, like you said, food and stuff, and it's fun. Yeah. I look forward to going to that, and and it's kind of, it seems like that's what you've created for your local area that now people are traveling to go to.
Yeah,
it's just
very
so
cool.
mind-blowing. It's amazing. But I just know, but it's a lot of work. But you said a key thing though, because Gerald helps you with a lot of the marketing and graphic design. And...
Well, not only that, he like physically helps me. Like he helps me go mark off the spaces, unload the, we have a U-Haul with all our stuff and set up my booth. Or if I need to walk around and check on the vendors, he maintains the booth. I mean, by the end of the night, we are beat every time. I mean, it takes a lot out of us, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. And then do you kind of like sort of just recuperate and take some time off and let yourself regenerate?
No. Oh.
What?
No. No, after the November market, because that's on Small Business Saturday. After that, I stop sewing till the next year. Like I'm going to enjoy my Thanksgiving and I'm going to enjoy or that's after Thanksgiving. I'm going to enjoy my holidays or going on vacation. Like I'm not touching my machine till January. And that's exactly what I did this year. But after March, like, no.
Yeah. Oh, but
yeah,
you
sure.
I think so. Cause then you would just kind of lose that passion, even though you love it so much. Like I love sewing too, but sometimes I just have to, well, my husband knows he has to like force me to go out and I'm like, oh, no, kicking and screaming. And then we go out and have a nice day. And I'm like, whoa, I really needed that.
Well, yeah, the other day, I think Gerald and I both stayed up. I think this was on a weekend. We stayed up till like 2 a.m, like not even knowing it was 2 a.m.
I knew what time it was.
I didn't know.
And I remember I was like, it's 11. Why is she not like ready to go to bed?
But I was like on a roll. You know what I mean? Like I was into it I was watching The Walking Dead and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And Gerald from his office, like, it's like 2 a.m. I was like, what? When did that happen? Because like when I'm in the groove, I don't want to stop, and so that's when the whole like, do you want to go to a movie? No, I'm working.
Yeah. And for me, sewing, it's like I enter a time warp because I have no sense of time. And it's just like, you can't believe it's 4 hours later. And you're like, what happened?
Exactly. I was just ironing fabric. Yeah.
Well, Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on to the show. And, there's a lot of people that love to sew, quilt, and make things. And I think you sharing just how you guys run your businesses, and really the thing that I get from listening to your podcast is that you just have to try it. You don't have to be so scared. And if it doesn't work out, then you just figure another way. And so that's the kind of thing that I have to get over, because I'm just like, I have to be, it's got to be perfect, and I got to know what I'm doing. But then nothing gets done, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have, that cartoon picture of, is it Batman slapping
Oh yeah,
Robin? And it's kind of a meme. Well, we have friends or acquaintances that are always like, I'm thinking about doing this, and we always want to just insert that slap, like, stop thinking about it, just do it.
Right.
Because I think all of us who have social media, and we all see those people that talk and are like, I'm thinking about starting this up or doing this, and it's like the ones that actually do it, or they just do it. They don't say they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
They just do it. And I don't know.
That first step is always the difficult one for anybody that's starting a business. But when you have that idea and you have that itch and you have that creative nerve just going, I think it's important to channel that. And whether it's, making sewing stuff or launching a t-shirt line, there's some kind of self-gratification when you have your business that's taking off, and it's like, it's flying out of the nest. It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's a cool feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So just best of luck to you guys, and I'm definitely going to stay tuned in to your show, so I'll hear about what happens at your markets.
Yeah,
thank you for inviting us on here.
Thank you.
And also, before you guys were really kind enough to add a promo code for my listeners, which is nice. So,
yeah, for sure.
So you made a promo code. It's called, so they type in makers at either website. So at tacogear.com and at sobonita.com.
Yes.
Yeah, and
that's right.
Like for a limited time. So I don't know how long, but it's not going to last forever, everybody.
Till the websites go down. Yeah, I think those are for 10% off. Yeah.
Yep, 10% off. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll chat again.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.
Bye. Oh wait, you always say hasta
la próxima.
La próxima. Yes, I love that. Every time you say that, I say it with you. I'm like, hasta la próxima.
Bye. And all I say is bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Make and Decorate podcast. The podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Stephanie Socha. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.